Hello Topis, my gratitude morning to everyone. I am Abhinavsri Chamanchula, presently pursuing BTech first year Computer Science and Engineering from University College of Engineering, Kakatiya University, Kottagudem. I am extremely happy to be the host for today's Top Talk of our lovely mentor and top speaker Sriram Devanathan sir. Mashu, the entire Topicel is equally excited to listen to your magical voice. Before that, let me take pleasure in introducing you. Team, I am deeply honored to introduce today's our top speaker. He is the one who cares for everyone. He is the one who lives with humongous positivity. He is one who assists many in spiritual learning. He is one who lives with a gratitude mindset all the time. He is the one who pursued many people around with him, his persistent action. Finally, he is the enthusiastic soul of love. And he is none other than Sriram Devanathan sir, who is principal at Amrita Viswa Vidyapeetham. Sir, we are very happy to have you as our top speaker today. Before starting your top talk, as always, let us get started with our invocation by Kranti Annaya.
Thank you, Abhinavasri. This is who we are. We are a team, talented, energetic, astonishing mindsets. We can do anything and everything. We talk, we care, we respect each other. We see beauty in everything. We are connected by hearts and driven by values. We celebrate each other. We provide value to each other. We take ownership in everything we do. We have freedom to make mistakes. We learn as we go. We are mad to make a difference. We love disruptive ideas. We make impossible things possible. We are strong to question the creation. We believe in dreaming big. If we do not dare to dream big, are we really living? Why be ordinary when we can be extraordinary? We should be driven by our goals, not by egos. We can do it, we will do it. Let us not hope for the best, let us be the best. This is who we are.
Thank you, Kranti Annaya, for finally doing our invocation. I know you all are excited for the today's top talk. Sriram sir, this session is yours.
Thank you. Thank you all. Good morning. Just a sound check. Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yes.
First thing, I have to apologize because I've been sick the last 2 days and my voice may not be very sound. So I'll try to, if you find it going low, just raise your hand or just shout at me. I'll try to speak up. Okay. Uh, when I was asked by Shravan sir about this talk, I think my understanding was this was about PhD at Amrita. But then later we had just some thoughts whether it is just PhD at Amrita or is it to be expanded to PhD in general or PhD abroad and so on. I am very flexible today. I have one presentation that I have which is specific to PhD at Amrita, and I'll be happy to go through that. But if you have some other things, I'll be flexible and I can cover whatever you think would be of interest to the audience today.
Sriram, can you
Yeah.
cover PhD at Amrita first?
Sure. Yeah. I will be able to share, right? The screen.
Yes.
Since I'm not able to see the
Yes,
video.
Mashu.
Okay. All right.
We
Thank
can
you.
see the presentation screen.
Okay. Thank you. So I will first start by making a remark about today, 8th of May. It's a special day. I remember about 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, when I was in the Coimbatore campus, something very nice happened. A beautiful experience. Some students started referring to me as their Amrita mom, Amrita mother. And so now I was thinking about it at that time as to why mother, why not father, etc. Then I realized this was a conditioning that I had in my mind. So really, the idea of mother doesn't have to do only with gender, although gender is very important there. But the motherhood that can be awakened in every person is very special. And so these students had given me that beautiful privilege and experience at that time. And today, being 8th of May and Mother's Day, I thought I would start by just wishing everybody a happy Mother's Day to all, whether you are male, female, whether you are still yet not a mother or you are a mother, doesn't matter. I think we can awaken the motherhood, the beautiful qualities of motherhood in all. That is the first one. Now, getting to the PhD at Amrita, I thought it would be useful to first talk about the university, the background and history of the university, the evolution of the university, and then to give the details of the PhD program against that background and context, because then you might appreciate a little bit better about what it is, because it's always useful to see. Suppose you want to learn music from someone or dance from someone, you would like to see their credentials, isn't it? To know that you can confidently approach them and that they know what they're supposed to teach and so on. So it's like that. And I'm just going to give, it'll be a little bit like a promotion, but please bear with me for a few minutes. So there are currently 6 campuses within the university. There is just one university. Its name is Amrita Viswa Vidyapeetham. So Vishwa is world, Vidya is knowledge, and Peetham is a establishment for that. So it's a university. That's how it comes, isn't it? So that word Vishwa has to be there when we say university. What you see in the top left is all of these pictures are actually from the Coimbatore campus. It is called Etti Madai. And this first picture in the top left, it gives the main administrative block. And there's the Saraswati statue over here. You have the magnificent scenic Western Ghats in the background. You can see also this Olympic-sized swimming pool where we also host some state championships for swimming and so on. All this area that you see now green, it was completely barren and dry brush. So much so that the mafia used to come with lorries and steal the sand from there. It was like that. Imagine the revolution that has happened, a green revolution that has happened from the efforts of starting from one person who lived there amidst the cobras and pythons and scorpions. And brick by brick, he's built it over the period of about 26 years. A lot of people have contributed to this under the grace of our Chancellor, Mata Amrita Devi. And you can see now on the bottom right also, I think the picture doesn't quite do justice to the surrounding. There is actually one elephant-shaped hill, and then the one you see here, it's kind of like a crocodile holding the leg of the elephant. So we are reminded of this Gajendra Moksham parable from our Puranas. And then on the other side, towards the right of this, there are two conical-shaped hills, and there's some army cantonment buildings and campuses over there. We have a sense of assurance, because of that there's kind of a natural protection from the hills on two sides, from a village on the other side, and then from the army cantonment on the other side. Now, this is just one campus. We have 6 campuses as of now. 2 more are coming up. As of now, it is 2 in Karnataka, Mysore and Bangalore, 2 in Tamil Nadu, Chennai and Coimbatore, 2 in Kerala, Kollam and Kochi, and then 1 coming up in Amaravati, 1 coming up in the National Capital Region, Faridabad. And that's going to have one of the largest hospitals in the country. It is going to be a 2,400 bed super specialty hospital in Faridabad, and it's going to be inaugurated in August this year. Now, what is the journey of Amrita? A few facts and figures. We have over 22,000 students across these 6 campuses. We have over 1,800 faculty, 15 schools. When I say school, I mean School of Engineering, School of Arts and Science, School of Social Work, School of Business, School of Management, and so on. School of Biotechnology, School of Medicine, School of Dentistry, School of Pharmacy, and so on. So these are the schools. You can see the campuses. There's a healthy faculty to student ratio, which is important in the modern context so that you get adequate attention and time from the teachers. Now, the journey itself, if we look at the journey from 1994, when it started as a simple institute, not as a university, that was in Coimbatore, and it was affiliated with Bharatiyar University in Tamil Nadu, and then later to Anna University, and later it became an independent university, which is called legally deemed to be university. There is a UGC Act of 1956, based on which the status was conferred on Amrita in 2003. Now, in this journey of 19 years, there has been just tremendous accelerated progress. And I was involved from 2005, about 2 years after the university status was obtained. I had just moved back from the US. And my very first task, I had two major things. One, because of my quality background, I was asked to help with the accreditation and assessment, NAC. I was responsible for that. I was also responsible for starting BTech Chemical Engineering in Amrita. So I'm the father of a very proud baby. I'm the proud father of a baby.
Wow.
So that was very, very lovely to do that exercise, because I got to meet with some of the top chemical engineers in the country. Professor Rajesh Kumar and Professor KK Gandhi from IISc Bangalore, Professor MM Sharma from ICT Mumbai, Dr. Gharda of the famous Gharda Chemicals, and so on. So all of these people provided some very valuable inputs before I designed the curriculum and everything. So then again in 2014, every 4 years, 5 years, we have to undergo the NAC accreditation. Then we started entering the NIRF rankings, National Institutional Ranking Framework. This is by the Government of India. And we have done very well. And as we progressed, you can see now that it's gone to the rank of 4th or 5th best university in the whole country. And when we look at the private universities, we are number one. And in the recent NAC accreditation in 2021, we received the highest CGPA. And it's a very complex exercise because of our structure of 6 campuses in 3 states and so on. So NAC themselves acknowledged that this was the most complex academic structure in the whole country. In 2022, which is just recently, we were ranked number 1 in India with respect to sustainability rankings. So which is a very, very important thing, because our whole university looks at humanitarian-based, compassion-based research, compassion-based education, character building, value-based education, and so on. Now, without this background, sustainability cannot be achieved. So this helps us understand that we are on the right track, and that the world also recognizes us for being on the right track. When we look at the journey so far, this slide doesn't quite have the updated numbers, but I'll just give you an idea of it. The publications count has been increasing steadily, and we are looking, year-wise, we are looking at over 2,500, 3,000 publications per annum. And then we have citation count. This is now at 13,000 citations, over 13,000 citations in the university. We have received over 250 crores funding for research and consultancy. And this has all contributed in taking us to the world ranks. Additionally, we have been conferred the Institution of Eminence status from the Government of India, UGC. And this is a recognition for 10 private universities and 10 government universities. And we are among the 10. And this has a huge responsibility that within 5 years, we become ranked within the top 500 in the whole world. And within 10 years, within the top 100 in the whole world. So this is the target ahead of us, a very aggressive and challenging target, and we are walking towards it. Naturally, when we do well, it gets the attention of people from outside the country, and a lot of eager partners have been coming. And you can see the bulk of it is in North America and the western part of Europe. And recently, we have been trying to grow a little bit more in Australia as well. But even otherwise, that, the western part of Europe and North America, especially US and Canada, generally have the prominence when it comes to students going abroad. And so it is natural that we have started out with them, but we'll soon expand to everywhere. All of these, now the programs have grown so much that we have dedicated people, a team which is for the North America ties, a team which is for the Western Europe ties, a team which is for Australia ties, and so on. So it has grown so much. Okay, now coming to the extracurricular and other activities and so on. So all of these, the academic activities have to go on, but we never ignore the other part. And I am now going to focus specifically on the Bangalore campus. Just to give an example, in the Bangalore campus, we have 45 student clubs, and 25 of these are called clubs under Prachodana, the technical wing, and there are 20 clubs under Sanskriti. Now, the list actually shows 18. I have not updated it with a couple of new ones. And each of these would have their own faculty mentor, they have the student coordinators, and then there's an overall professor of student affairs who takes care of all this. They are all budgeted. We have plans for the whole year. We have to write reports, get it out in newsletters, and so on. So it's very organized with this. And this gives a way for the students to develop all round skills, not just the core technical knowledge, but the leadership skills, the teamwork skills, the communication skills, being able to network, being able to interact with professionals, being able to organize events, all of these things. And they also get to learn a little bit about the budgeting part, proposal writing, all these kinds of things. So now major events are about 50 events per year. But if you look at the technical talks and seminars and webinars and all that, you might be looking at about 300 events a year. And now this has almost doubled recently because I was fortunate enough to connect with about 450 alumni. All of them are ready to give back. And so we've organized ourselves into 17 different activity areas. And we have matched the alumni to these areas. And it became so so popular, and they were so enthusiastic that if we were to proceed with all of them, we would have been looking at just 300 talks and so on just for this 1 year. And we said that's impossible because our students will be burnt out. So we had to actually put the brakes and restrict it. But the enthusiasm and the support has been amazing. So that's the background. Now a little bit about the PhD. Okay, I have to first ask this because in your minds, many of you may have thought about PhD, many of you may not have thought about PhD, but then you may have encountered this topic and why is Mashu talking about it? What is special about this? So first thing, if I ask you this question, have you ever heard anybody in your life say, I am so sorry that I did a PhD? The answer is probably no. But you might have heard many people say, I'm sorry, I regret that I did not do a PhD. But nobody would have said, I am sorry that I did a PhD. Now, people ask me, why did I do a PhD? Okay, I'll put a question back to all of you. You don't have to answer aloud, but just think in your mind. Suppose I asked you, why did you not stop your schooling after the 5th grade or the 7th grade or the 10th grade? And your answer might be, oh, I didn't even think that that was an option. You thought that, completing schooling meant at least a UG degree. Well, for me, the completion of schooling meant a PhD. It was as simple as that. It didn't mean that I had some passion for PhD. I mean, at that time, honestly speaking, I didn't even know what was involved in a PhD when I signed up for it. There was an excitement about going abroad. I had never left home. I had never stayed in a hostel in my entire life. And even till date, maybe about 3 days, I would have stayed in a hostel. But I've never had that kind of experience. And so at that time, it was not that I had some grand plans and that I had done a whole lot of research, nothing like that. So why is it that I had that? I don't know. I always feel that I've had a love for learning, love to study. It was not study as in the sense of writing exams and all that, but it's just always learning seemed a lot of fun. Even today, when I go to the YouTube, I know a lot of people just automatically migrate to the entertainment parts of it. But when I see things, you know how YouTube is, if you search for something, it'll suggest some other things which are associated. So if I just want to understand what is the coldest place on earth, which city is the coldest on earth, how do they live their lives? Because you can't even get liquid water. What do you do? How do you live your life? So I have curiosity like that, and then I start watching that, and it suggests another video, and so on. Then I start asking questions about why is it that certain types of animals develop a horn? Why do they? What did evolution have in mind for them? Was it purely defensive? Was it something else? Because these days, there's all these kinds of speculations about some Chinese traditions have it that the rhinoceros horn is like an aphrodisiac. Now, where does all this come from? Who tried all this? So the curiosity is very important. It will automatically stimulate you to learn in all different dimensions. What is the connection between all that and this doctor of philosophy? Now, let us understand these two words, philosophy and doctor. If you look at the etymology means origin of these words. The word doctor, it turns out, has the same meaning as teacher. We may not think like that today, but the word doctor has the same meaning as the word teacher. What is the meaning? One who gives instructions. A doctor gives you instructions on how to live your life in a healthy way. If you are sick, they give you instructions on what to do to get healthy again. They are doctors. Of course, they know more than that. They can do something with their hands and with their brain and so on. But they give instructions. A teacher is that. Teacher is one who gives instructions for the subject matter, for life also. So doctor is the same thing. Okay, so now we know a PhD is a person who's supposed to give instructions. Okay, what about this philosophy? So it has those two parts, philos and sophos. Sophos is wisdom. Philo is love or liking. So love of wisdom. Now, somebody who has a love of wisdom, naturally they will acquire wisdom. And with that content inside them, they can give instructions. So if somebody is wise, you would rather take instructions from them, isn't it? So philosophy is that. Doctor of philosophy tells you it's a person who actually loves to acquire wisdom. And from that space of wisdom, they are ready to give instructions to those who seek it. As simple as that. Now, today we have become very, very narrow in terms of what this is. You may say a PhD person is going to study about the diseases in the hind leg of an African donkey in the deserts of Ethiopia during springtime. Now, it should not be so specific, isn't it? A PhD is not supposed to be that. Today, there's a big hoopla about interdisciplinary and all that. But actually speaking, our forefathers, they learned everything in an interdisciplinary way. That was the default. But unfortunately, we moved away from that. So today we are making a big deal about going back to it. But really, knowledge is knowledge, wisdom is wisdom. You have to learn in an integrated way. Even if you take recent examples, some of you may have heard about Sherlock Holmes and the author Arthur Conan Doyle. There's the science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke. These people were like that. They boxed. They were scientists. They even learned surgery. They could write phenomenally. They were amazing. They had amazing imaginations. So innovative. Arthur Conan Doyle, the author of Sherlock Holmes. He traveled widely across the world. He used to sail. He used to go in ships. He was a ship doctor. He could do surgery. He invented the scuba diving outfit. So many things, Arthur C. Clarke created this vision of the geostationary orbiting satellites. So knowledge was like that. The learning was like that earlier. So today, it would be unfortunate if we were to restrict ourselves into a certain narrow area. Well, PhD, while it gives focus, it should not prevent us from seeing outside that. That's very important because that brings innovation. Now, getting to something specific within the PhD in Amrita. So one always has to understand the logistics of it. So if you are planning PhD in Amrita, what options are available? Today, if you look at the degree certificate for PhD in Amrita, it will not give you the name of the department. It will not say PhD in chemical engineering. It will not say PhD in sociology. It doesn't say that. This is intentional. Even if you look at some of the top universities in the US, they have moved away from the earlier model. In my degree certificate, it will say PhD in chemical engineering with a co-PhD in statistics. That model is not there now. What people do, they mention the topic and they leave it at that. They may say in the School of Engineering, Amrita Vidyapeetham, something like that. But the topic is the main thing because we want to show that it's interdisciplinary. Let people make what of it. Unfortunately, the mindset in a lot of Indian universities has not changed. So you may have some cases where people are still from the old way of thinking. And they'll say, what is this? I don't know. Which degree do you have? Do you have it in chemical engineering? Do you have it in chemistry? How do I know? And you apply for a job and you come across these kinds of strange resistances. So we have had to deal with it. We had to provide some background documents saying that this person has taken A, B, C, D courses in the Department of Chemical Engineering. And so they are familiar with chemical engineering and so on and so forth. So it's an unfortunate situation, but I'm sure the world will move on and our universities will catch up also with the new way of thinking. Okay, so having said that, the PhD degree is offered. If you look specifically at engineering, we have the engineering school in Coimbatore, Chennai, Amritapuri, which is Kollam in Kerala, and then Bangalore in Karnataka. So these four places we have the engineering. And then you have many other areas. All the information is available online. I'll give you the link also. I think I had given earlier, but I can share that. And we have a lot of new trends. Now, what you see here are broad disciplines, broad fields of knowledge like engineering, cognitive sciences, social sciences, media, commerce, humanities, medicine, allied health sciences, Ayurveda, and so on. But if you want to propose something new, as long as we have the right kind of guidance within Amrita, we happily embrace it. We don't have any such restriction that it has to fit in within these molds. So now what about the criteria for admissions? For many areas, there is this net qualification that is desirable. And this is useful because it also entitles you to some government scholarships. But if you did not write net, not a problem. And especially for engineering, that's not a necessity. Typically, unless you wish to join the teaching field without a PhD and you want to join a government institution. In such cases, for the government institution, or if you don't want to do a PhD and you want to do teaching, then net becomes mandatory. Otherwise, you can't get it. But generally speaking, for engineering, people go with PhD and then net is not required. Or within Amrita, the most common way of admitting people is through an entrance exam. So you'll have two components to it. One is with mathematics. Now, specifically, I'm talking about engineering. If you have questions about something other than engineering, I'll be happy to answer that. But now this slide is specifically about the engineering part, where the entrance exam is the big thing. We also have an interview. So even if you don't do so well in the entrance exam, if you're able to do well in the interview, we will still consider you for admission. And then if you have prior research publication or conference presentation and so on, those will also add value towards the admission criteria. Now, there are types of PhD enrollment. You could have full-time. That means you don't have any other official job or any other enrollment in another institution. It's full-time within Amrita. And of course, that's fastest. And I don't know if I'm supposed to be looking at some messages or something. Right now, I'm only seeing the...
Can I ask you a question, Sriram?
Yeah, please go ahead. Stop me anytime.
Okay. The entrance exam, you said,
Yeah.
can you tell a little more about the entrance exam? What is involved? How do you, is it like, is there a sample paper on the website? Does it give you, How does it, what is it, what is there
Yeah.
in the exam?
So we have two components to it. One is a mathematics exam, and this will be typically for about 1 hour, 1.5 hours maybe. And then the other part is the core branch. So if you're a UG chemical engineer, then you'll have a chemical engineering paper, kind of like GATE, but it's not as tough as the GATE score. And we are fairly flexible, in terms of the timing also. If we feel that the candidate is genuinely motivated, these are cases where our own faculty are sitting there and proctoring the exam. And if they ask for a little more time, we say, okay, no problem. So it's fairly flexible. We don't believe in that kind of pressure that GATE puts. If they are able to demonstrate their knowledge, even if they take a little bit more time, that's fine. The syllabus for that core part, the chemical engineering or material science or environmental engineering, whatever it is that you are interested in, based on that interest, we would be sending the syllabus to the candidate, to every applicant individually. We will send the syllabus. We'll also send the syllabus for the mathematics part. In terms of the question papers, generally speaking, we prefer not to send that, not because there's something very secretive about sharing, but we want to move away from that mindset. Because generally speaking, a lot of students feel that they will try to understand the pattern, and that if I practice again and again, then I can crack that pattern. And this is very common, especially with students who are preparing for JEE and state engineering entrance exams as well. We feel that has a long-term detrimental effect, because it prevents you from gaining a deeper understanding, and you are just preparing to crack a pattern that we don't want to encourage. So only for that reason, we generally don't share the question paper. We just want to, we are very liberal in terms of how we evaluate the answer sheets, and we'll answer all kinds of questions if they have about the question paper, but we prefer not to share the question paper.
Okay. One more question,
Yeah,
Sriram.
yeah, yeah,
Let's,
please.
if we take an example of Rohit, say, okay?
Yeah.
Rohit is like, he only thinks about chemical engineering. That's all. He lives and breathes chemical engineering. Okay. So he's now working on a terabyte project about thermal storage battery. That is one thing he's doing. And he is, he's part of many activities and everything. So his, I don't know his GPA, let's say 85% or 8.5 or something. Um, which is like a normal, which is some, I think people get, I guess, I don't know. Uh, so once you, if he has this kind of interest and he has like playlists, he's like doing nanotechnologies, provide, producing his own videos and everything. So he's doing this for like, he's in third year. So now he applies for Amrita, and uh, say he does this and he didn't do well in the entrance exam, but he has all the other things which show clearly that he has demonstrated that he really, really cares about getting a PhD in chemical engineering. Would that help, or entrance exam there is, how does it work?
Okay, yeah, excellent question. In India, I have to say, we lack in consistency in some aspects. So especially within Amrita also, if your question is specifically for the chemical engineering PhD, the answer is a resounding yes. We will definitely consider all that, because the faculty have come with such a background. They've come with degrees from abroad, and they have that broad-mindedness to look at all these other things. In some other departments, they may not. So unfortunately, the leadership also matters over there, and how they are determining the admission criteria. With the chemical engineering department, we've been very blessed and fortunate to have people who are more open to such things. That, I have an example along the lines of what you said. There's one boy who, from the first year, had a passion for organic chemistry research. He was in the chemical engineering program, and he wanted to work with photovoltaic cells, organic solar cells. And we have an excellent faculty in that. And this boy, if you look at his grades, it's hardly anything. I mean, he's just like barely above the pass mark. But his passion for research was so great, so great. By the time he got to the fourth year, he had two amazing publications. I'm talking about Royal Society of Chemistry and Journal of this. It's very, very, very difficult to get. Very difficult to get. And just with that, with bare minimum CGPA, he got accepted into National University of Singapore with scholarship because the quality of the work was so amazing. So he had that passion. So I see that this happens outside the country. Now, there are two aspects to this. One, his own guide, unfortunately, was not in not so great at written communication. But a couple of others in the department, we had the forethought that this boy needs to have excellent recommendation letters. We have to find very good words to justify how his abilities are not reflected by the CGPA. And that was not coming through from his own teacher, from his own project guide, unfortunately. And this happens very commonly, I see, in the recommendation letters.
Yes.
In the recommendation letters, typically what you find, if the teacher is cooperative, it will be like a prayer to Goddess Saraswati. It will become like prayer to Lord Vinay. So they will say Vinay was excellent. He's always attended classes regularly. He was so attentive in class. He's very obedient. Blah blah blah. It's like a hymn in praise of Lord Vinay. It's like that. And they are not fools because they receive thousands such letters. What is the value in that?
Yes.
They have to understand the connection between what Vinay has stated in the statement of purpose, SOP. What are his long-term goals and objectives? How is that connected with the degree that he is applying to? How has he prepared himself all these years towards those long-term objectives? Has he done internship related to that? Has he done any papers or projects related to that? The electives that he has taken, are they related to that? They are not fools. They'll check all this. And that has to be brought out very nicely by the teacher in the recommendation letter. So if that connection is not there, they will not give much value to the letter. So most of the time, what happens is faculty members are kind of, I think they find this to be a very tedious affair because I can tell you in my case, I used to write somewhere around 250, 300 letters in a year. And so it can take up a lot of time.
Yes.
Right. So for faculty members, they'll think, oh my God, what is this? So they'll probably say, okay, you write it and you give me. And these poor students, what do they know? They don't have the experience. They don't know how the people evaluate there. So these things, it will be good if we give more exposure to the faculty members also. So within the Department of Chemical Engineering, I've tried to do that. Unfortunately, here in Bangalore, I've not had the time yet to do it, but a lot can be done in this regard.
Thank you. Now, let's take the example of Rohit. If Rohit wants to, he's like doing his BTech for, chemical engineering. He's going to be done with his third year very soon. So can he go to PhD directly or he has to go through master's and then PhD at Amrita?
Yeah, so that's there in the slide. So we have these 4 types. Right now, are you seeing the slide or are you seeing just the screen?
Yeah, no, we are not seeing the slide. You
presentation.
To share again. Okay, 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this, there is this full-time, part-time, integrated, and dual degree. Full-time, of course, people are enrolled full-time in this. They are not doing any other job, any other degree, and so on. Part-time typically reflects those who are in a full-time industry, employment, etc. Or they could be a faculty in another university, but they have registered for PhD in Amrita. And typically we give more time because they are already busy with one job, they are busy with family and so on. These are people who want to upskill themselves after they've had a few years of experience in the industry or so. And so if a typical full-time PhD takes, let's say, 3 to 5 years, these people might take a couple years more. Then we have the integrated PhD, which is what now you were asking, Shravan. The integrated PhD is directly from BTech. So you have to have a BTech qualification. You have to complete your BTech degree. And then we enroll you. It just means that the masters and PhD are integrated together. Now, how is that done? Typically, if you look at a PhD degree, you have several milestones in it. First, you will have the selection of a PhD thesis advisor. Then you have to have a doctoral committee which is formed. Then you'll have to create a course plan. What are the courses that you will take to fulfill the requirements? Then you would complete the courses and you would write a comprehensive written exam. After you write the comprehensive written exam, then you have a qualifying exam, which is defending your thesis proposal. And after you finish that, you would have one open seminar where you are disclosing everything in public. People attend it like a seminar. They will ask questions. That's the first time you'll be openly talking about your thesis in the public. And there will be another open seminar, and then you will have the synopsis of the thesis that has to be submitted to some Indian and foreign examiners. And then if they decide that they will serve as the examiner, you send the full thesis to them and you schedule the defense, final defense. And that's kind of the journey. For the integrated PhD, if you have completed your courses, especially the courses related to the master's level, that itself will serve as the comprehensive exam. So the comprehensive exam step is waived. We don't have again separate assessment like that. That saves some time. And then that makes the other things go faster. So those who are actually quite advanced and motivated, they may start their research even from the first year, because it may be a little bit demanding in terms of time management. But there are people who do that also. And by the time they get to the second year, they may even have a paper publication or even a review paper or something like that. And they make progress quite fast. Now, the dual degree is basically where you have a partnership with another institution abroad. And so we have several partners in the US, Europe, and Australia. And you may spend, let's say, up to 6 months to a year or something in the partner institution. So you get that exposure also along with whatever you get in Amrita. And you get a dual degree. So one degree which is from Amrita and one from the US or Europe and so on. So the integrated is what I think would suit Rohit, where after the BTech, he can directly apply for this.
Thank you, Sriram. Does it cost anything if once you suppose say you got into this integrated program?
Yeah.
Does it cost or does he get a stipend?
Okay, I'll talk a little bit about the scholarships available also. So in Amrita, typically we have over 500 scholarships that are open under the Chancellor Scholarship. Now, this itself is an incentive. It gives you the travel and living expenses and everything to go and spend some time with a partner institution abroad, let's say for 3 months or 5 months or so on. So there, the guide would have some prior collaboration with an institution abroad, and then Amrita is sponsoring because they have to have demonstrated excellence in their research or through publication and so on. There's a Dean's Fellowship, there are international scholarships, industry-sponsored scholarships, research and teaching assistant scholarships, and so on. But what does it all mean in terms of the finances? I'll try to give an idea of that also. Now, at a very lower level, those who have done fairly well, from the beginning itself, you may be eligible for something from 10,000 to about 30,000 per month stipend alone. And there will also be some support in terms of the seed grants and publication support and so on. So for registration for a conference fee, those kinds of things. And those who prove themselves in terms of paper publications, they're also they can apply for this Visvesvaraya scholarship, PhD scholarship, up to 43,000 per month stipend alone for the entire duration of the PhD. And then there are these international internships also. So how does this work? I'll give you a few examples. There is this Marie Curie uh, scholarship they call ESR. ESR stands for Early Stage Researcher, which is basically like a PhD student. And so they have stipends for that. They call it mobility programs. So mobility as in someone moving from India to Europe and so on. And so this is there both for faculty and for students. And as part of this, they'll be sponsored, let's say 600 euros per month for a few months. So it's quite adequate, and you'll be comfortable in terms of the travel and the living expenses, all these. So that you would be eligible only after joining the institution, and then you've made progress in terms of your research and publishing and all that. And these schemes are announced throughout the year. Every year they announce that through the thesis advisor you would apply for that, and then you would benefit from it. Now, all of these, I just want to give you an idea for how this works out in terms of the personal finances. If you look at the tuition for PhDs, the the tuition is 30,000 per annum. And now, if you look at hostel and mess fees, depending on the campus, because our campuses are located in different places, Mysore may be a little bit cheaper, and you may be looking at about 54,000 per annum hostel and mess fees, whereas Bangalore would be about 90,000 per annum. And so now, if you compare this 90,000 per annum for the hostel and mess, so it takes care of your boarding and food and all that. And then this, so this is your expense about 90,000. See, if you were looking at this expense of tuition fee, so it's about 1.2 lakhs per annum. And even if you look at a basic scholarship of 10,000 per month, that is about 1.2 lakhs per annum. So that should give you an idea. So if you get something higher, it means that you would actually be on the positive side. You would gain something beyond the expenses. Okay, so I'll just stop here because I know, Shravan, you had a question. So I don't know if I answered that question.
You did. You did.
Oh,
You did.
oh. And
Thanks.
I think this audience is primarily all engineering, and I don't know if they're all only chemical engineering, but I just have some thematic areas that are indicated here. We follow this US and European model that if you have a UG degree in something, you can apply for a PG degree in something entirely different if you have the interest. What it means is you may have to take some additional courses, but if you really have a passion, even you don't mind spending another 6 months or a year learning in that field, and then you can always make progress. So in that sense, you have the chemical engineering. If you want to move to biomedical engineering, you can move. If you want to move to aerospace technology, you can move. If you want to take up earth sciences or disaster and water management, you can move there. Construction engineering, material science and metallurgical engineering. You can even do a PhD in mechanical engineering with a BTech in chemical engineering, or you can go to nanotechnology, ocean engineering. All these things are possible. Renewable energy, all of these are possible. Renewable energy is also a viable area for chemical engineers. Uh, Transportation engineering, supply chain and logistics is also okay. Sustainable development. Amrita has two UNESCO endowed chairs, and this is a very prestigious thing. And one is Center for Sustainable Development, and the other UNESCO chair, endowed chair, is on women's empowerment and gender equality. So all these options are available. We actually have a PhD in sustainable development, and currently we have almost 120 PhD scholars across the world, Africa, Asia, Europe, US, you name it. And they're all with fellowship. So that's another option for Rohit as well, if he's interested in that area. And so based on that, they would pick the appropriate guide from all the different schools or departments. Okay, so that's the formal, I think, part of the presentation. As I mentioned, in Amrita, we are very flexible. If you find that something is not listed in the website, you're free to suggest something. And if we have someone who can guide in that area, we'd be willing to take that up as well. Okay, so that's the presentation part of it. And we can start spend some time answering questions if you like.
Wow, sir, that was a great presentation regarding Amrita University and PhD program in Amrita and Masters. We are blown away by your presentation. We are so happy that you are the reason to start Chemical BTech in Amrita. We are so proud of you, sir. Once again, thank you so much. We love you, Mashu. And before going to comment section, I want to ask one question. How you manage 20,000 students and 1,800 faculty, 15 schools with a cool and calm nature? It is very hard, we know. But how you made that possible? Will you please share that experience with us?
Oh goodness, I have to correct that quickly. I don't manage all that. So there is a vice chancellor, there are two provosts, there are deans, and all that. So I'm only looking at a tiny part, which is the School of Engineering in Bangalore campus. Okay. So even that I'm struggling with. So definitely would not be capable of handling 22,000 students and all those faculty. But so first of all, before I move on, I was very happy to see this name, Abhinavashri. Very, very beautiful name I had not come across before. If you see the very beautiful, is actually wealth, richness of it. And you can even say prosperity. Nava is something that is new. And Abhi means something that you hold very dear. So now it is something that you hold very dear, and it is always new, and it is always something that will bring you prosperity. So that is the combination that you have. So wonderful. Very, very happy to see you today, Abhinav Shri.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
So first, share a little bit. I do not consider myself an administrator at all. I am struggling. I can tell you honestly, I'm struggling. And many times I've had this comment from people: you need to become more firm and assertive. Otherwise, people will exploit you. They will walk all over you. And these comments started 15 years ago, and unfortunately, I have still not learned enough. The comments are still there, but I just hope that I don't lose my faith. My thought is how I am as a person should not depend on how the world is. I My focus is I can't change the world, but every day I can just try to be better than what I was yesterday. That much I can try to do. So in this sense, the journey in Amrita has been amazing because it has provided lots of opportunities for stress, and that means it provides lots of opportunities for growth. This is the classic story of this caterpillar and butterfly. You can't have some gain without a little pain. There's something that my taekwondo master used to say every day when he made us do 150 push-ups as a warm-up. And he used to say, no pain, no gain. He was this Korean person, but in these short words, 4 words, I think he taught us some amazing lessons with respect to resilience in life. So now I can say that in terms of my being able to manage with the different roles and responsibilities assigned to me, there are a few key things that I can point out. One, it's very important to step out of your comfort zone. And by God's grace, somehow it has happened throughout my life. That's a story for another day, maybe. There's so many cases and examples where by doing so, I have reaped rich rewards. Second thing is a famous statement by Mark Twain. He said, I have never let schooling interfere with my education. You think about this, it's a very, very profound statement. He said, I have never let schooling interfere with my education. Schooling is where you go to a formal institution, a school, a college, university, etc. But education happens all the time, 24 hours a day it happens. Even in your sleep, it can happen. And so if you look at how we learn, how the education happens, It is not just about computer science or chemical engineering, but how is this building our character every day, every moment? And when there is good character, it will automatically drive us towards excellence in everything. I remember a long time ago when I went to Bombay to attend one industry academia interaction conference. After the conference, I was just having chai with a bunch of people over there, and I didn't know them. First time I was meeting them, and one company called Well Set Polymers, the general manager was chatting, and he made this statement which pleased me immensely. I realized the value in institutions where they do this character building. He said, "You know, Sriram, I take a lot of students from Amrita. Now, the difference between the Amrita students and the IIT students is this: when they join the company, from day one, the IIT students want to tell us how to do things. And from day one, the Amrita students get along with everyone. So now that is very valuable. It is quite possible that many of our students may not have the same IQ level as something, but this IQ is one aspect of our capability and capacity. There are so many other things. And so the companies do recognize the value of all of these other types of skills and capacities that are required. So that is one thing that we feel in our, yeah, as an administrator, as a teacher, I can always try to make sure that I create an environment where the students grow in all these other dimensions, not just in terms of the core technical knowledge. And the third part is to understand the dependency between so many different fields of knowledge. Today, unfortunately, like I said, the horizon is quite limited for many people. And they don't, so a typical engineer doesn't bother to read about, let us say, social sciences or humanities, literature, about economics, history, civics, archaeology, and so on. But there is huge interplay and interdependencies between these. I've always had that kind of a natural tendency for exploring in different directions. So here I am with a chemical engineering degree. Why did I move to statistics? And from statistics, why did I move into sociology? And after having all these, why is it now that I'm guiding students who are working in women's empowerment? I'm looking at tribal development, rural development. So where does all this come in? So somehow, without even me realizing, all these things converged into this broad domain called sustainable development. So now I realize when I look back that sustainable development doesn't just mean a responsible chemical engineer. There's so much more beyond that. And so oftentimes, if we don't broaden our vision, we miss that. So I'm sorry that I took so long to answer your question, but I feel that, in terms of whether it is managing a school or a department or simply managing a class or something, I think this breadth of vision is important. Stepping out of your comfort zone is important. And being able to relate to everybody by coming down, being down to earth is very important. I cannot communicate with others if I see myself on a pedestal. I have to learn the respect and love for everybody around me. Then I can communicate. Otherwise, I am blocking all the doors of communication. Okay, so that's the answer.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing. Vinayandam, share your comments.
Hello, Mashu, once
Uh,
again. So, thank you so much for this talk. I don't know I am in need of this talk, but listening to this talk at this age, really, I'm feeling like this talk meant to happen in my life because I do have some clouds on PhD that why to read for extra 5 more years when we are only done reading in the college for only 4 years. But it really gave me a new perspective to look at the education which I was having a passion for in my 10th and intermediate. So I didn't do my BTech with that kind of a thing. I did BTech just for BTech, like ante అలా అయిపోయింది మైండ్. బట్ I just got back to my 10th class curiosity when you're talking about PhD. Really loved it. Like, and also I really like the way you you said it like a default option in your time. Like like you did 6th class, you have done PhD laga. And I didn't expect like this talk will turn out to be this good. That where you will uh, present something called the best university, how the best universities should run, or how the best university education system would be. And I didn't also think like Amrita University is this thing, like only 19 years. I didn't know. I was thinking it is a set standard university from many years, but really like the way it has bagged many like accreditations in the journey, and it's one of the topmost private university. Um, and happy to hear that you are the founder of the chemical engineering by getting guidance from everyone. Also, I felt like we are having this thought of starting the Thop University, right? Like to do the online Thop University. So I think this kind of a attitude is needed while we are designing our Thop University, because I was listening to the talk like how to set up a very good university, how to set up a very modern university, and you are following those methods, like having many clubs and all. Really proud of Amrita University. Thank you so much. And regarding that, I have this question where, like, for the in like NET exam to get into the PhD, like what kind of a preparation should be done as a chemical engineering student? That's what, like, if he do prepare for GATE, can he be able to clear it?
Yeah, actually, for NET, I would say for engineers, you should not bother too much about it. For other branches, it is more critical. But what happens is, for engineering, if you don't have a PhD, you cannot even progress in your career as a teacher, as a faculty member. It will be a stumbling block somewhere if you don't have a PhD. In many universities now, for example, in Amrita, we may not even take someone without a PhD. Because first of all, the competition is so high. Even people with foreign degrees, sometimes we have to refuse because the competition is very, very high. And so NET does not give you an added advantage for engineers as such. But if you have some very specific reason that you want to get into a government institution without a PhD, then only then you may need NET. But I would not recommend that, because even there, after you join, you'll face some hurdles if you don't have a PhD. You'll not be able to progress from assistant professor to associate to professor level. You'll not be able to make progress without the PhD. So ultimately, if you have a PhD, you don't have to worry about NET at all. It doesn't make any difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe a generalized question, but I just wanted to get your perspective, like India PhD versus the US PhD, like foreign PhD. What to be considered?
Yeah, it is like this. Generalization is not advisable for this answer because I have seen in my colleagues, there was one person that I can immediately remember. He did his PhD from, or he did his master's from Gandhigram Institute. And he is fantastic. And he is now one of the best researchers in our university in chemistry area. And he did his PhD in Amrita. But even before he started his PhD, I could see the excellence in him. So I feel a lot has to do with your own personal drive, the inner drive and motivation that you have. And even in even in a mediocre college, you can shine if that drive is there. But, and there's a big but, if you have an inner drive, there are some institutions, unfortunately, where there is. I'm being a little blunt here. Please forgive me. There is this thing called crab mentality, where these crabs, They will not allow others to rise up. They'll pull them down, and they don't want to rise up. And so, if you are in that kind of a toxic environment, you should get out, is my frank opinion, and find another institute. Now, if the institute is supportive in you doing your PhD, but they lack the facilities and resources, that is also unfortunate, because you may be extremely talented, you may be extremely motivated, but if you are resource constrained, it will put a lot of limitations on the quality of the research that you can do, the output that you can deliver. So in that sense, it is definitely a motivation for doing something in top private universities or in IIT and so on. Amrita, I would say, is far above any of the NITs in India in terms of research, far above. So NITs also, I would not readily recommend. You have to be very careful. You go to the site and see which faculty members are active in research. When I say active, you'll be able to see whether they have publications every year in the last few years. How many publications do they have? Are they publishing in top journals and so on? Are they active? It's easy to see that. And now there will be some universities where they don't even bother to update the website. That is also a warning sign for you that the university itself doesn't care. Okay, so these are ways in which you can find out. So now getting back to your question, this is one reason why if you go abroad, in a lot of cases, you are guaranteed a minimum level of these facilities and infrastructure and all that. And so for a person who is very motivated and has that inner drive, it's a very nice launching pad. From there, their drive will take over. Facilities are there. They will shine. So only for that reason, I would recommend aiming for the top universities, either in India or abroad.
Okay, I got it, Mashu.
Yeah.
And just two more questions, like
Yeah.
regarding the fixing of the topic that they want to do research on, like after getting getting the PhD seat or so, like they'll be given a bunch of options to choose from, or how it goes.
Yes. Again, this is quite dependent on the person who's the thesis guide. So I'll give you my own example. When I
Because
went to
what I feel is like, if I don't know what is the best topic that I can do research which have a good career or something like that.
no, that thought you can banish. Because in my own case, when I received a scholarship from Iowa State University, I at least I thought I had a huge interest in polymer engineering, polymer science, and all that. I didn't really know much at that time, quite frankly, but I felt like I had interest in that. And so I selected Iowa State, and they told me the name of the person who would be my master's thesis guide. I arrived there, and then when I met that person, suddenly he said, Sriram, unfortunately, I will not be able to guide you. I'm going to take a break for 4 years from research and setting up a new lab, so I'll be busy with that. I'm not planning to take any master's or PhD students. So here I was, who had come there thinking I was going to get into polymer science and all that, and then suddenly I find he's not available. Fortunately for me, the scholarship that they gave me was from the department. It was not tied to some government grant or anything. So then the department chairperson said, hey, you just go around, you talk to all the faculty and come back and tell me who you like, and you can just work with them. So this was in the US, in Iowa State University. So I went around. And finally, the person that I picked was a person who had joined as faculty fresh out of the industry. He had never been a faculty in any other institution. This was his first experience as a faculty member. And my friends thought I was crazy. They said, this guy has no experience. Why are you picking him? And it's some obscure subject called data reconciliation. They said, this is not even chemical engineering. Why are you picking all this? There's no experimental work, nothing. Have you gone mad and all that? And I said, I just feel comfortable with him. Today, I can say honestly that that was the best decision I had made, because it had so many wonderful after effects. He was the one who encouraged me to do the dual PhD in chemical engineering and statistics. And he had some fantastic mentoring kind of abilities. And that I'll do some other time, maybe, because I don't want to take up too much time today. But there are lots of things that he did. He was a fantastic teacher. The way he groomed us for developing research skills was very good. All this happened. Now, in his case, I'll tell you something very amazing about him. Normally, you say that your PhD takes 3 to 5 years. Okay, this person, Derek Rollins, he had when he was in his sophomore year, that means second year of UG. He's this tall African American, 6 foot 2 inches tall, and he joined his UG on a football scholarship. In his second year of UG, he sustained a hip injury, and that put an end to his football career. I'm saying American football. And so then it turns out somehow he was good. He was a smart guy. He adapted to the studies, did well, got a job with Dow Chemicals, which is one of the topmost chemical engineering companies in the world. He worked there for 4 years, and then he got married during that time, had one child. Then he suddenly decided he wanted to get a master's degree. So he spoke to his wife. His wife said, "Okay, I will support you. Go ahead and enroll for master's degree." So he did, and during that time, that was master's in chemical engineering. He completed in the normal time of 2 years. During that time, they had another child. Then he said he wanted to do one more degree, master's in statistics, and he completed that in 1 year. During that time, he had one more child, 3 children. And then he said he wanted to do PhD. And his wife said, "No problem, I'll still continue supporting. You carry on. I want you to do well. It will benefit us in the long run." And then they had one more child. Then he did his PhD. Guess how long it took him? Just 1 year. Now, I have not heard anybody completing their PhD in 1 year in my entire life. This was in one of the top universities, top 25. It was Ohio State University.
Oh, how was he able to do in 1 year?
I have no idea. Even after that, that was like in 1990. Even in all
Maybe
these 32 years, I have not heard of anybody who's completed their PhD in 1 year. There have been some brilliant people, but nobody completed in 1 year. Now, I didn't know all this. I didn't do all this data analysis when I signed on with him. I just felt comfortable. But the decision proved to be amazing. And the kind of recommendation letter that he gave for my green card application and all that, I thought, oh, is he really talking about me? It was like that.
can you
So,
tell the name once again?
Derek Rollins, Derrick Rollins.
Okay.
Every year or every other year, he used to win the best teacher award and all that in the campus.
Wow. Wow.
So
Amazing.
now, anyway, getting back to your question, in that case, I was able to select something. What I did, I didn't select a topic. I selected the guide at that time because I felt comfortable. The topic seemed interesting to me. But I can tell you, all my life I struggled with mathematics, and I ended up doing a PhD in statistics. Can you imagine? This is what I mean by stepping out of the comfort zone, and it had a huge benefit. Okay, so now in Amrita or in many other places, you can pick the topic, but you have to then check whether there is a guide who's capable of guiding you in that topic, in that area. That is important because you don't want to get stuck with someone who doesn't know much about the topic. Right? Or you have to pick a guide who's so good that they can go to any field and pick up and they'll be able to guide, because that requires some maturity and some people have that, but we have to be able to detect that. So another problem that happens commonly in India is they get assigned to a person, and we try not to do that in Amrita. They get assigned to a person, and that person, whatever they are suggesting, this person has to take up, the student has to take up. That's not a very desirable situation.
Isn't the guide doesn't mean the same thing assigning to the person?
No, you can always pick the topic now. You are assigned to a guide has broad expertise in some area. You can do the literature search and pick whatever you want to work on, and the guide will say, "Okay, I'm comfortable with this broad domain, so I can guide you, not a problem." Or oftentimes with young guides, what happens is they will say, "Let us extend my PhD work in these directions, so you take it up." That is, they feel very comfortable with that, and let's be honest, that's how they feel comfortable. And I mean, even in US that happens, but some guides are not like that. They'll just say, "I'll give you the freedom, you pick and you come back and tell me."
Yes,
Uh,
Mashu.
by the way, if I may just add one comment about the Thop University. This is 2007, I think. One person, Dr. Shankar Shastri, had come from University of Berkeley. I don't know if he's there, if he's retired, I don't know what it is. But there was an amazing presentation by him. The way these people think differently, innovate, and it's just mind blowing. Some of these universities. What he told me, this is like, some 15 years ago. No, 2007, yeah, 15 years ago. In Berkeley at that time, he said they had constituted a team of top researchers, academicians in the university, maybe some dozen people, top thinkers, thought leaders. They were asked to go around to some 30 countries across the world, developing countries. And they met with the premiers, like a president, prime minister type person in all those countries, and tried to understand what were the most pressing needs and priorities and problems in the country. Big, like mass scale priorities, problems to be solved in those countries. Then they came back and said, we are going to organize ourselves to tackle those problems, to find solutions for those problems. And they came back and then they said, with our existing way of organizing, the way the Berkeley University is organized, it will not work. So they said, do away with this whole department business, Department of Chemical Engineering, Department of Electrical Engineering. He said, we will solve these problems. And for solving one particular problem, if we have to bring all these people together, you focus on that, create that unit. And so all of their whole structure was changed at that time. Now I don't know how it is, but this is what he was telling. He was the dean of academics at that time. I think some revolutionary thinking like that, it happens to some extent in India, but we don't get the support to actually implement it. I think in the US they do to a large extent. But this was just really mind blowing for me that somebody could be so advanced and visionary in the way they approached solving global problems. Anyway, I was reminded of that because Thop University, you are now starting from scratch, and all these ideas may help in
Yes,
design
Mashu.
the way you want to design the university.
Definitely. So, last question is like, what are the things that we can do after PhD, like a best career that is possible after
Okay.
PhD, being a professor or getting into the industry or what?
Okay, first thing, this is again something that my own friends used to have this misunderstanding about when I was doing a PhD. They asked me, oh, you are going to become a teacher, faculty, and all that. I said, no, I have no intention of ever getting into academics. So when I was in the US doing my master's and PhD, I had not even a single thought of ever becoming a teacher, a faculty. Not a single thought. I was out and out an industry man. And so they said, then why are you doing a PhD? I said, why not? Who gave this rule that that you should not have a PhD if you want to work in industry? That was a gross misunderstanding. That misunderstanding unfortunately exists even today. Now the only thing is, in certain environments, in certain societies, the importance given to R&D is more compared to some other societies. And in India, they are beginning to wake up to that. So earlier, a lot of industries, private industries, they did not invest at all in R&D. So with the result, if you see today, they have a very sorry situation in India. We are, if you look at the pharmaceutical industry, we are all into generics. We don't produce new drugs. Now, why is that? Because we don't want to invest in R&D. We have brains, we have lots of brains, but we are always into generics. We wait for the patent to expire and then we produce this. Now that is jugaad, fine. There is also a kind of capability, and that is needed because these pharmaceutical industries in the US and Europe are dominating. They are dominating in terms of their capitalistic views to make the medicines very expensive, and it is out of reach for a lot of people in developing countries. So what India is doing is actually a good contribution for the world. but in terms of the technical innovation, that is not happening. So that capability is there, but the people have to invest in R&D. The same way, if you look at medical devices, we are hopelessly behind as a country, hopelessly behind. And so the cost of healthcare in India goes up only because of that. You look at the cost of MRI, you look at the cost of uh, ECG and all these other things, the tests, X-rays and all that, so huge. It doesn't have to be. You always wonder why. It is because these people have to recover their capital, investment for the equipment.
You, Sriram. I just wanted to say this was really, really, uh, you know, good. I did not expect this was going to be this much fun. I feel like you know, do I want to do? I want to do a PhD now, and I feel like I missed doing a PhD before, and I'm really glad that Amrita is doing so well, and knowing that you started the chemical engineering program is pretty amazing, actually. So
Thank you.
thank you so much for this, and I'm hoping some of you will go to Amrita, and it's you have to that passion to learn. I think you have the environment now. At least in our proposal, we have the environment. We can make it happen. So if you have the passion, we have the ecosystem within our proposal to make your dreams. We can provide that environment for you to continue your interests. That we can do in our proposal. Thank you so much, Sriram. And
Thank you so
Abhinav
much.
Shri, that was really good. Well, Sriram, she is the host for the first time, and you did a fantastic job.
Definitely great. Oh,
Thank you, sir.
yeah, please go ahead, Kranti. If it's okay, Shravan, can I take the
Sir,
question?
Yeah, go ahead.
no, sir. Actually, it's not a question.
Okay.
Uh, re- uh, Really, I'm very happy to join this session, sir. Like initially, as you said about the history of Amrita University, by while you're saying that you are said about the Saraswati Mata goddess who is in front of Amrita University. Yeah, like it is like a positive vibes. Even when we have that goddess in front of a university or college, it is like a positive vibes. And then you said about that Amrita University is collated with many other universities before, like Anna University and other. Later, it became deemed university. Yeah, it shows that really it shows our Amrita universities that patience, and now and you mentioned that now it became number one college in India and in overall world 100. So really, while I'm listening that history of Amrita University, I I enjoyed it. Like I blown away because from starting it just started as alone and it is interacted with it collided with some other college and later it became independent and it became number one college. So we can learn from this. Like we can start by colliding with someone else. Later we maybe become independent and we maybe become achieve more and more. And thank you for letting us know more about PhD, sir. Actually, like you raised a question that is anyone said that why I done PhD, and you also mentioned that why I hadn't done PhD. Very recently, 1 month back, I had these two questions, sir. I had these two. So well, when I joined the OPCL, when I joined BTech, I have an idea that I should do PhD. Later, I joined the OPCL or to family. Then I got uh, a that I got an interest towards PhD, and I thought that I want to do PhD. But when I went very recently, I went to some other place and met some other stars there. They said one of the stars said why I had done PhD. I listened this question. Then even I didn't thought at any time that I should not do PhD, but just I thought that. why I should spend more 7 hours, more 7 years, sorry, 7 years on this after masters and after PhD. But when I listen to your talk regarding this PhD, I got my interest back. I can say I am sure that whoever who will say what, I don't want to lose this interest towards this. And as you mentioned that why many PhD, why doctor is involved in this, I have question in my earlier days. Actually, doctor, I had that doctor means I just have that doctor means who treats health issues or that in that way. But when you said that doctor who guides us, like who instruct us, it is also like a teacher, philosophy, love, wisdom. It's all like bringing lot much interest and towards PhD. And thank you, sir, for letting us know about that National University of Singapore also. Thank you, sir. I can say that it's really a great call for me because from a confusion to clarity, I came because I have a bit confusion that whether I should go to PhD or not. Why PhD is needed for me? Is it really needed? I thought very few months back, but now I got a clarity that whatever the people may say, I want to go towards that. The more the risk I take, the more I benefit. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Kranti, for the kind words. Thank you.
Thank you, Maya.
You know, fact that you have been so amazingly active with Cell and all the activities, it shows that you have the most important ingredient for success, and that is you're willing to take that first step. Whatever be the objective goal in life, unless you take the first step, you cannot move forward. You have, out of all the countless students that are there, whether it's in OUCT or Kakatiya or any place else, where you are today is because you have taken that first step. There are many of you, many of your friends who are not here, but you have taken that first step. That is the most important ingredient for success, and that's going to be responsible for taking you a long, long, long way in your career, in your personal life as well. So very, very happy. I would say that it's a privilege for me and all the other mentors that are involved in Thop. Honestly, we always feel it's a privilege for us. It is not that we are doing something great, but it's just that it's a privilege for us because there are so many things that we didn't have, and we are learning in the process now of mentoring. We are learning. It's kind of like a lady who's become a mother for the first time in her life. She's also learning to be a mother, and so like that, we are also learning to be a mentor now through the experience of interacting with all of you. And that has an impact on our own lives, on our personal lives, on our professional lives. It has a huge impact. So from all of us, I will take this opportunity to say heartfelt thank you to all of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing your valuable information with you. Thank you, Mashu, for great presentation. We learned a lot with your presentation, as like everything. It is so cool and spreaded positive vibes. Love to know about Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham from your words. We just blown to know about the PhD and its importance. Thank you, Mashu. You made a great for today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. Thank you,
Thank you.
Sriram.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Vasu.